Hey, Nicole, hop in my time machine.
Josh, this is a pre-owned Nissan Altima.
My God, why are there so many empty cans on the floor?
I'll turn this time machine around right now, I swear to God. This is a hot dog is a sandwich.
Ketchup is a smoothie.
Yeah, I put ice in my cereal, so what?
That makes no sense.
A hot dog is a sandwich.
A hot dog is a sandwich.
What? Welcome to our podcast, A Hot Dog is a Sandwich. I'm your host, Josh Scher.
And I'm your host, Nicole Inaidi.
And today we have a very special guest who's been making waves with his passion for food, history, and storytelling. You might know him as the host of Tasting History, where he takes us on a delicious journey through time, recreating historic recipes with a side of fascinating trivia. The one and only Max Miller. Max, welcome to the show.
That was a good intro. Thank
you so much.
Thank you
My mom
so
could have
much.
written that. That was great.
It sounds like you're a starlet on the rise.
Right? Exactly.
He's been making waves. All the stuff about the Nissan Altima, that is based on reality. I'll show you the car afterwards. It is
What year is it?
pre-owned. 2017. It was a good year for Altimas, and just a terrifying amount of cans on the ground.
Been there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a direct reflection of my mental health at
Didn't
the
you
given
clean
time.
it out?
Here's the thing about cleaning, Nicole, is it then again gets dirty.
Have you thought about not throwing the cans in? Do you have a trash can in your garage?
I have a trash can in my car. The cans
No.
just don't
You
end up in it.
No, you don't need the trash can in your car. You need a trash can in your garage so you can unload all the cans into the trash can in the garage.
I'll tell because this podcast is
Am I
about
right?
the state of my car. So what happens is though the trash can in the garage is behind a heavy door, and I have a backpack
no,
and a
you
gym
need
bag and
no.
generally groceries to carry up.
You need a
so then I'd have to
small-
double back.
You're thinking of a dumpster, sweetheart. I'm talking about a garbage can.
Is a dumpster not a trash can, Max?
This is a trash can.
It's a big one. It's too big.
Are the cans just like on the floor, or have they risen to the point where someone in the passenger seat has to like put their
He
knees
has
up?
risen.
No,
'Cause I've been in those
cans.
cars.
I have gotten to that point. It
was bad.
And when we were filming in the car too, and then Trevor I think pivoted the camera down. But right now we're only at a single layer. Once you start lasagnaing, that's the problem.
Is there a raccoon in here?
Literally.
This isn't what we're talking about
Sorry,
today.
guys.
This is not what we were talking about
Tangy
today. We are talking about what time in history you would travel back to just for the food if you had a time machine. Because this is inspired by Julia. She came up with this little party cold open where
Who's
you just
Julia?
go out. Julia
Tell
is
the
my
people.
lovely wife. They
That's
know
right.
who Julia is. I don't like to use the phrase "my wife." It's
Too Borat of you?
No, it's possession.
My wife.
Possession-y. But anyways, she'll go up to people at parties and just say, if you had a time machine, what era would you travel back to? And you speak the language. People don't know that you're a time traveler, so they wouldn't just immediately like burn you at the stake. But I think it's a great way to get to know people. Do either of you have any time that sticks out that you would want to travel to?
I do.
Yeah?
I do. Mine's a little, okay, I'm going to be honest. Mine's honestly a little bit out there, but it's because it's not talked about enough. And there is research behind it, but I'm curious. So I've always loved going to like music festivals and stuff, and people just got back from Coachella, and I'm sad that I didn't get to go this year. But I've always.
Very dusty.
Yeah, it is. It's very
I'm
dusty and
literally
sticky.
still coughing up dust.
And like the food scene at like Coachella right now was crazy. Like people were like having like $20 matchas. They were getting poke bowls for like $40, acai bowls, stuff like that. But I want to take it back to Woodstock. I want to go to the Summer of Love.
Don't do the brown acid.
But let me tell you, there's different colors of acid.
Never mind.
Okay. Well, I always wanted to go to Woodstock for some reason, and no one ever talks about the food at Woodstock because it was like thousands of people in like the Catskills in New York, and there was like so much love and good energy and music, and Jimi Hendrix was like playing his guitar backwards and doing all the like Star Spangled Banner and stuff, and I just want to know what they were eating. And people say that granola was actually popularized at Woodstock. Like
Interesting.
People had no food to eat there. They had hot dog stands and like a few other food stands, but they ended up actually burning the stands down because there wasn't enough food and there wasn't enough warmth like within the tent. So they're like, F you guys, we're just going to take apart your stands.
Oh my God.
And just about that like free love, the 1969, the 1970s, and just having fun. And there was so much new food coming out. Like people were all about like veganism and things like tempeh and tofu and like Eastern foods that people have never heard of before were just making their way into like the American zeitgeist. So I really wanted to go into that time where people were experimenting with health and wellness and kind of being at the precipice of this really, really cool time while also doing a bunch of illegal drugs.
I gotta say, when I see pictures from Woodstock, Health is not the word that comes to mind.
Well, health and wellness, maybe not, but it was all about like freedom and like trying new things. And maybe you eat that weird bag of grains in that weird man with the beards tent. Like, I don't know. There's something about that kind of like there were no rules. And there was nothing holding you back during that time. When I now think of concert festivals and like music festivals, there's so much holding you back now because everybody has their phone, everybody has like their cameras everywhere. But at Woodstock, it was just like no phones, really enjoying the moment,
Yeah,
So
you
that's
couldn't just get naked and slop around in the mud next to an open flame while eating granola.
Like,
you
that's
couldn't
what
do
I-
that. You
like-
can't do that.
Good
now.
old days.
Could you imagine? That to me is so much fun. And like just like the brown rice and veggies of it all, I just love so much. And now we've gone through this crazy, like that was like the spectrum of like health foods. But now we've gone to like this crazy like Erewhonism of fancy fresh foods and all this stuff. I don't need that. I want my food to be crappy, dusty, dirty, messy, with a bunch of hippies. And I rest my case.
I do feel like you're trying to cheat the system to get a free legendary concert experience.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
By saying I'm here for the food.
They
it's
go
research.
hand in hand. They go hand in hand. I feel like that, like eating tempeh for the first time for like American people was so
Did they
interesting.
have tempeh at Woodstock?
I
Have you done the
imagine-
research?
It was like leading up to it. You know what I mean?
That
It
was like a
yeah.
critical turning point in
Yeah.
American
Cuisine.
food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like leading up to that moment of like all these cool Eastern foods and all these wonderful, unique ingredients that you've never seen before, while doing a bunch of like LSD. It's cool.
There's a
I
really
like it.
there's a really great book that chronicles like that era of cuisine called
Right.
Chefs, Drugs, and Rock and Roll.
There
And it
you
kind
go.
of starts with like Alice Waters at
yeah.
Chez Panisse.
Sure.
And like the crazy dinners. That was actually one that I was potentially thinking about, was just going back to that like era of Chez Panisse. This is gonna be
California chic.
so niche for everybody here.
California
But
cooking.
California cuisine, but when like Jeremiah Tower, if you guys know the name. Jeremiah Tower is one of the most influential chefs in American history. He took over as chef at Chez Panisse, but then he ended up leaving that and starting a restaurant called Stars that was known as like the ultimate 80s party restaurant after that like era of like free love and experimenting with Eastern cuisine was over, and then that translated into the kind of Wall Street era. But I thought about like being in Jeremiah Tower's kitchen at Stars while, Michael Douglas was just doing massive amounts of drugs everywhere. That would have been something at
Allegedly.
least.
Allegedly.
The Douglas family do not come and sue us. But does that sound appealing to you, going to Woodstock for the food?
No.
Come on.
Woodstock, yes, but for the food, because I think maybe they didn't have a lot of that stuff there, and we're relying more on the granola and burnt hot dogs, and
Yeah,
a lot of
maybe
people
you're right.
just foregoing food because they're on so many drugs and having problems with dehydration. I bet it wasn't as fun as.
I'm making it sound.
Yeah. But now I do kind of want to do some research and find out, like, if there are any. I feel like it wasn't a generation of journalists, like, actually writing their thoughts
Probably
down.
lots of photos.
But maybe there are some things. Hey, yeah, we went and got high and ate cheese.
The commodification of festivals and culture in that way, that was
Right.
interesting. So the first time I went to Coachella was 2016, and I went for work as a food journalist.
cool.
But I was sent there because there were so many of these restaurants. They started doing a like $500 a person dinner in the middle of a field called Outstanding in the Field. And so I got like a free ticket to go to that. And I went, and I was with college friends. So I was doing some substances. And I'm like at this weird fine dining dinner while like LCD sound system is on stage. And it was a super bizarre experience for me. And I was supposed to write about that, but instead what I did is I just took my phone and, I was a little bit messed up, but I don't remember a lot of it. But I woke up with 57 interviews with random festival goers on my phone. And I wrote a piece called "What Did People Actually Eat at Coachella?" Because all of this stuff was coming out, like the 10 best bites. We have the truffled grilled cheese from whatever. And I interviewed people, and they'd be like, I woke up and I ate 15 wheat thins covered in peanut butter, and then I took Molly and shrooms, and the peanut butter is good because it stops you from passing out.
Right.
And it was that. It was like
probably more
those.
like
That's probably more
You
like.
know what I mean?
Yeah. That's probably exactly
But
what
it's kind of like this fascinating, difference between like this commodification of food and all these journalists writing about all this fancy stuff, and then what people are actually doing, which is like,
Yeah.
I'm here to do drugs in public, and I'm going to eat enough to not pass out.
Did you see
you
that
know?
they this year they had an omakase experience by Nobu at Coachella this year.
It was so bizarre. I was
what,
there
300
5 days ago. No, I didn't do the omakase thing, but yeah, we went. We got a $30 poke bowl. The rice was
Ridiculous.
uncooked. The salmon was warm because you're in the
Gross.
110-degree
Well,
desert.
that's the thing. So, okay. Do you actually enjoy Coachella? Do you actually have a good time?
At this age.
At this age?
Where
Because
you went.
I was invited by YouTube to go, and I flat out said, absolutely
You should have gone. We could have hung
You
out.
literally could not pay me enough to do this. There's nothing about it that seems interesting to me.
I'm very grateful for YouTube offering me the chance to go to Coachella. No, I had a great time. It was super rough, a lot rougher than when I was like 24 when I went last.
Yeah, sure.
But for me, I love there were a couple bands, especially down on the ballot, that I was really excited about seeing.
Played at like 11
Like,
a.m.
No,
see
literally.
Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
We missed that because we have jobs, so we couldn't just go on a Friday.
That's okay.
But no, I was like, for me, we got in there as soon as the festival started at 1 because all the bands that I like played at 2 p.m. And so, you'd start drinking at like 1 and you duck inside this tent and like Swedish punk band Viagra Boys put on the most
That's so
electric set you've ever
cool.
seen. DJ G Gola, the techno DJ from Germany, was there. Infected Mushroom, you know them.
yeah, I do.
Watch them play. Bob Villain. You've heard of Bob Dylan? You heard of Bob Villain?
Not recently.
No, great
no.
punk artist out of Britain. And so for me, getting to see all these artists that I've been listening to for a while in one place was very cool. But once the night falls and it just becomes this crowd crush,
Yeah, it's scary.
it was like a little bit frightening.
be
I don't know if I could do another Coachella. I don't know if I have it in me.
I think I'm just like old and grumpy because I don't even like going to the Hollywood Bowl anymore because I'm slightly
Honestly?
uncomfortable for several hours. I can't do a whole weekend.
Yeah.
Max,
Sometimes I feel
you have like a lot of life left to live,
I
buddy.
know.
Where does it
And I
go
want
from
it to
here?
be very comfortable.
Yeah, as you should.
With a little dust and little
He's gonna
sun.
move into a convalescent home when he's like 45.
No. We just gotta do like Coachella Light, We gotta go to one that like has like a good seating area with the little steam streamers of water so you don't pass out.
We used to have LA Coachella. It was called FYF. It was great.
I used to go to FYF every year.
FYF was awesome. You take the train there, you're
I
back
used to
home
go
by
to
9.
FYF every
That's
single
the only thing I
year,
could do.
and then they canceled the Janet Jackson one, and then they never did it again.
I saw Mitski there in 2015. It was incredible.
Me too.
Oh my God, we're there! Max, if you were to travel to one point in history to eat the food, what would it be?
I think I would go back to England, specifically Brighton,
Okay.
in, I think it's the 1820s.
Interesting.
There was this period of time at the Brighton Pavilion where the future King George IV, he was the regent at the time, he was there, and he was like a party animal. He loved having these huge parties. He loved having huge feasts. He was grossly overweight with gout and still just consuming massive amounts of food because his chef at the time was Carême.
Oh,
Like one of the
snap.
greatest
Yeah.
French chefs of all time. He was working at the Brighton Palace, and he would have hundreds and hundreds of people have these huge, huge feasts, but the whole palace has like 4 or 5 bedrooms
Ooh,
because he didn't want people staying over.
makes sense. I wouldn't want people staying over either.
It's why Queen Victoria, who enjoyed it there, she ended up like not she pieced out. This was later on, obviously.
Where is
because-
Brighton geographically?
So it's just kind of like straight south of London, right on the water. It's a lovely sea town, very big during this era, during the Georgian era. And the pavilion is really interesting because it does not fit in. It looks like it should be part Turkish, part Chinese,
Interesting.
part English maybe. And so it's like got these, the turban domes or the onion domes
Sure.
and stuff. But it's beautiful and ornate and really quite opulent, and the kitchens are phenomenal. But these meals, there are menus from the time, and we'll have like 70 dishes.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah,
all
yeah.
be
For one
trotted
dinner?
out for one dinner.
Wow.
And every single one of them, they have pictures, and every single one of them is more spectacular than the last. Regardless of how they taste, just looking at them, that's why I would want to go.
That it's so funny looking back to basically any era older than like 150 years ago, and the gap between what rich people ate and what poor people ate
Oh, yeah.
was so much wider than it is
Insane,
now.
yeah.
And listen, I'm all for democratization of like all things However, bring back wild aristocratic cuisine because even now, like the richest people in the world, they're not eating that differently from us. You know what I mean? Like we have the ability. You can go to Coachella and go to the Nobu Omakase menu. That's
don't
like not
wanna.
that much farther than what a sultan might be eating. You know what I mean? You're
Sure.
doing it at Coachella after watching Gaga.
Sure.
Like that is really the stuff of dreams of just having an entire like literal brigade of French chefs
Right.
just doing your bidding. What were like the dishes that you would be most excited to eat? Like the style of cuisine back then?
The most excited to eat or the most excited to see? Because
Either
two
or.
vastly different things.
Either or.
A lot of it was like, how many grotesque but impressive things can we do with an animal and its bones?
So there is that. There is that. But I think like visually, I love they have all these amazing molds that are basically gelatin molds.
Love a good aspic.
But they weren't always aspic. They could be other things,
Okay.
you know, that were like molded into these amazing shapes. There's one called a Macedon, which is just like layer upon layer. It looks like a castle filled with fruit and gelatin. The thing is, I don't like gelatin, so I don't actually want to eat these things, but I love looking at these things. Though there is something called a flummery, which I really do like, and it is made with gelatin, but it's also made with cream, so
Okay.
it tastes
okay,
more
yeah.
like a creamy.
Mange
Like a
Blanc?
panna cotta.
Mange
Yeah,
almost?
like a
Yeah,
panna
yeah.
cotta. It's exactly like panna cotta. Whereas like just pure see-through gelatin, not my jam. But I think that like food-wise, what I would want to eat would be the pies.
Okay.
The savory pies.
Okay.
Where it's like we're going to put, I don't know, an entire capon
Yeah,
chicken or something like that into this pastry along with a bunch of gravy and vegetables. I mean, it's basically a really, really fancy chicken pot pie.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
a chicken
straight
pot
up.
pie.
Capons are the most underrated
No one talks
animal
about
to eat. No one talks
capons.
about capons anymore.
No, they
Capon,
don't.
it's a neutered rooster that they fatten up over time and let it actually like grow to
Right.
maturity.
Yeah, they're huge.
They're huge. I made capons. We got them for work, cooking some historical dish, I'm sure. Or maybe it was fancy fast food. I can't remember. We got them for work, and we had like 3 leftover capons, and I roasted them for Thanksgiving. Incredible.
Great meat. They're
What a
really
great time.
expensive though. I
know.
think that's why. I think I bought one and it was like $70.
It's a lot of meat, though.
Worth it. But
It
also,
is, but you could also buy like 3 chickens.
You're so right. No, yeah, you're so right.
also turkeys are way too cheap. We
I
need to
don't
talk
like
about the price of
turkey that
turkeys.
much. I'd rather eat a capon than a turkey any day.
I feel like turkey prices have to be subsidized.
I
'Cause
reckon
it's
they
like such
probably
an
are.
American food. I don't
Right.
know that for a fact, but I
No,
would-
it is. I mean, I don't know about the subsidies, but yeah, turkeys being like a Native American bird. And then,
Yeah.
you know the story of how like turkeys
The name-
became known
To be-
as turkeys? Do you know? Have you done anything about this?
I have, and I can't remember. I forget what I've researched about a week after I've researched.
Dude,
Yeah,
you and
Once
me
I make
both.
the
You need to-
video, it's
you
And the
out.
need
things
to
that like
dump
really
it.
make an
You
impression
You think-
stick, you
like,
know?
Right now,
You can't.
everything is the papal conclave of 1549, and I know nothing else.
All right, people.
Oh god, I gotta watch Conclave. But it had something to do with like the birds were stuck in a port city, and people. It was a port city in Turkey, and people saw the birds and named them turkeys, but they weren't even American turkeys. They were like Ethiopian guinea fowls.
Oh.
And then people were like, hey, you messed up this thing, and so it's this weird like mistake on a mistake on a mistake that ended up with them being called turkeys, and they were literally just like an ancient Aztec bird that people used to kill and eat.
I can actually tie that to the papal conclave of 1549
Nice.
because the cook at that conclave was Bartolomeo Scappi, who wrote this massive. He was like the first celebrity chef in Europe.
Sick.
And he made this huge book of all of the recipes, and it includes the first written recipe in Europe or anywhere for turkey,
No way.
How
which was a
interesting. No way.
brand new bird. He actually he also had like American style pumpkins and a lot of other
true.
ingredients
Wow.
that were brand new.
Wow. That is genuinely like when you talk about what historical era you'd want to go back to, I think one of the things that I'm really attracted to is the idea of newness. Anytime there's like an excitement
That's true.
around something, right?
Sure.
I think is really cool. It's like Woodstock, excitement about granola or whatever. But to me, like the most exciting time in at least like the modern history of food was the 1904 World's Fair in St. Louis.
Oh, the World's
The
Fair.
Louisiana Purchase Exposition. Hear me out. So like every time you hear about the hamburger, the hot dog, the waffle cone, iced tea, the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, there's always some sort of link back to the 1904 World's Fair. And all of those foods like claim to have been invented there, and all of the claims have been absolutely debunked.
Yeah.
Right.
But also the fact that there are these very specific stories. So there's the hot dog myth that Antoine Feuchtwanger was just serving Frankfurter-style sausages with white gloves inexplicably to all his customers. And then his white gloves ran out, and he went, "Oh, God, I have to find bread to put it in." And then there was a conveniently oblong bun maker next to this man. And he
Does
said,
anyone have more white gloves? No, but I have this.
Wow.
literally, and like none of it makes any sense. Ditto with an ice cream vendor. They just copied the hot dog myth. There was an ice cream vendor that ran out of cups, and there was a Syrian waffle vendor, Ernest Humvee, who was next to him and just went, "I can make an ice cream vessel," and the waffle cone was invented.
Syria named Ernest. Sure.
Same thing with a guy named Old Dave Davis, claims to have invented the hamburger there. A man named Richard Bleshenden claims he invented iced tea, despite there were accounts of it going back 50 years.
Interesting.
But the fact that like the 1904 World's Fair was such a massive thing, there were 19 million visitors, took up 1,200 acres, had 1,500 unique buildings constructed, and it was centered by 11 massive palaces. 62 countries and 42 states had their own buildings there.
Wow.
And there were all of these restaurants serving different foods because this was such a turning point in American history as well. This is when America was coming out of the Civil War. Before World War I, it had just gotten sort of into the neo-colonialization movement. So, like, we'd kind of just annexed the Philippines from Spain at this time. And so there was this big idea that, like, America is now a world player and we need to show it in St. Louis, America's fourth largest city at the time. And so they put so much effort into this. There was something called the Grand Tyrolean Restaurant that seated 3,000 people and had replicas of the Alps
Yeah.
there. There was something called the Palace of Agriculture, where there were 2 acres of space devoted to all the cereals, tubers, coffee, tea, meat, eggs, spices, beer, whiskey. And the official guidebook promised everything else used as food or drink by mankind.
Wow.
So it was this like way for America to try and show the entire world that like this is who we are as a country. We're an agricultural nation. We are a nation of culture and cuisine. And also there were some upsetting parts of the World's Fair.
Oh, yeah?
So, a lot of
Like
babies
what?
died, but we don't have to get into
Wait,
that.
what?
But
Why?
so
You can't just
for all
throw
the-
that out there, but we
there.
don't have to get into
So
that.
there's all the foods. You can try the first hot dog, but there was like a lot of scientific sort of expositions.
Oh.
And one of them was
Oh.
baby incubators had just been invented.
Oh.
The problem is they used real babies in the exhibit.
Oh, no.
And they didn't hire any doctors to watch over them.
Oh, no.
And so there was a lot of really upsetting things to the 1904 World's Fair, but also a lot of very, very exciting things. And that's why I'd want to be there. I said I
would
wouldn't talk about the dead babies.
Then there you go,
And
talk
here we
about
go.
it again.
I would love to visit a World's Fair, either that
Yeah.
one or the one in Chicago,
1893, yeah.
yeah, or and that's where a lot of foods came out of that as well.
I think that's why everyone felt emboldened in 1904 to just start lying.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they knew all of the 1893.
Well, and I don't even know that like the foods were necessarily invented, but that is where they got popularized.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it was like, yes, I invented this cereal, and now I'm going to put this
And
cereal
I had
out
no
for
way to
everyone.
tell people
Yeah.
about it.
But now I can.
Because
When-
there was no TikTok. You have to go to a World's Fair.
When was the most recent World's Fair? Was it 1904? Was
I
there
know,
any
I think
other
it was
ones?
like 64 in New York.
Really?
There
Yeah.
might have been one after that, but that's the last one that I know of.
We should
and
bring
that
it
was a
back.
really cool one because so you can still go and see a lot of the buildings
Mm-hmm.
in Queens from when it happened, but Walt Disney offered to build all of these different companies their showcases.
Oh, interesting.
And he said, and I'll do it for free.
Oh.
You have to pay for the materials, but I'll do it for free.
Wow.
But then I get it when the
Oh,
fair
like
is
the
done.
IP of it.
The physical things.
Oh,
So
gosh.
things that came out of that were things like the Tiki room,
Oh, wow.
the It's a Small World. I believe that was like Kodak or something. That was
Whoa.
there. The Autopia. That was, I believe, General Motors. And so
No
he
way.
built them for those and then took them and put them in Disneyland.
Oh,
What?
that's
It was
crazy.
a brilliant
Crazy man.
business.
It really is. I just went to Epcot for the first time like 2 weeks ago.
I want to go about Epcot?
And I love these like proto-utopian visions of the future, especially as it relates to food. You know, and Epcot is just like chock full of all that.
I wish I could go to Epcot.
When you learn what Epcot was meant to be, it breaks your heart of what it is. I actually really enjoy Epcot now, but it was meant to be, it was a prototype for a communal city that would be self-sustaining.
Yeah.
And that was his dream, was to actually have this be a thing. But then he died, and the people left in charge of the company were like, well, let's build it, but instead, let's do the showcase of the World Showcase.
Instead, we're going to charge Josh $15 a drink, and he's going to drink in all 11 countries.
It's like the same name, Epcot, but it was it the something prototype community of tomorrow? That's what it...
Experimental prototype community of tomorrow.
And then, like, what it ended up being is just so different. Like I said, I enjoy it.
That's
Love
so
doing that
interesting.
drink around the world, but it's like, this was not what it was supposed to be.
Well, Sugar Ray performed there when I was there. So if it had been an actual self-sustaining community, then I don't think I would have gotten to see Mark McGrath while like drinking I think I drank a Brunello di Montalcino from the Italy section on a 104-degree day in Orlando, Florida. It was boiling.
Sounds sticky.
I'll only go in January or February. No, I'm not joking.
God forbid Max is slightly uncomfortable from the heat.
All about comfort.
He's gonna get the vapors. You would fit in the Victorian era. Just a dandy fainting every day.
I think we should do another World's Fair. I think the people want it. The people crave it.
You know what? I think it brings countries together.
Yeah.
I think it does.
I think it's time for us to reinstate it. Us three.
I think so. I'm just laughing. Thinking of all of the insanity in the 1904 World's Fair, so much of it was anytime there's like an Olympics or any massive international event, it's always like some form of propaganda, depending on how you view the term propaganda, right? But this was very much like America trying to assert its superiority. Yeah. And like there were a couple pretty upsetting expositions. One was just Geronimo. He was just a 75-year-old man. And they had Geronimo basically being there being like, yep, the white man conquered me. Do you want to buy an autographed hat? And like that was actually just an exhibition that was there.
It's a paycheck.
It like literally, hey, we all got to work. And so I feel like I don't know what that looks like in a modern World's Fair scenario. You know what I mean?
AIs and holograms.
I mean,
wow.
But I think also there's still that, like you said, with the Olympics, there is still that aspect of nationalism and everything.
But then I got to see Gojira play the opening ceremony of the Olympics, and that was sick. Do you remember that? You know what I'm talking about? The metal band that had the decapitated Marie Antoinette?
Oh, yes,
France?
Yeah. So that was cool of France to do.
You were there?
No, on TV. I was watching TV, and I was like, oh my God, this is one of my favorite metal bands.
Yeah.
You have one of those?
What?
A TV?
Yeah, I got a TV. If I can offer one more alternate historical
go
period that I
ahead,
think
go
we
ahead.
would all really enjoy going on this adventure, William Dampier.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who that is.
William Dampier.
Except then you have to live on a ship.
Max is out. Max is out.
Talk
We're on a
about
ship.
uncomfortable.
Is he a pirate?
He was
He was a privateer.
A privateer?
A pirate with sanctioned papers for piracy.
But he was the first person to describe to a European audience chopsticks, barbecue, and guacamole.
Yeah.
And he also took extremely detailed notes and journaled about all his favorite animals to eat. And he had just like hundreds and hundreds of notes on like armadillo, kind of ass. And his favorite animal of all was the flamingo.
Yum.
Flamingo, yeah.
And I would love to eat flamingo. Max will bring some back. We'll dry it into jerky and bring it back to your beautiful palatial estate. And
Flamingo, I believe he also really enjoyed Galapagos tortoise.
No!
are they still around? There's got to be a couple.
Are.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
You're not allowed to eat them anymore.
Yeah, fair point. Well, thanks, cancel culture.
Spring always gets me in the mood for fresh starts, cleaning out closets, planting something new, and this year, I'm diving into a new language with Rosetta Stone.
Puedo tener 3 tortillas de maíz y un poco de tinga de pollo, por favor. ¿Cuál es la diferencia entre jitomate y tomate? You know what that was, Nicole?
That was you speaking excellent Spanish.
That was me trying my best. But I think there's something really exciting about the idea of traveling somewhere and actually speaking the language. Ordering food, chatting with locals, it's a totally different experience when you can truly connect, which is why I used Rosetta Stone before going to Mexico recently, and I was able to talk about Oaxacan food with a wonderful chef that I met.
That's so awesome. Rosetta Stone has been the trusted leader in language learning for over 30 years, and their immersive approach actually helps you absorb and retain a new language naturally, whether you're on your desktop or learning on the go with the app. What I love most is the True Accent speech recognition feature. It gives you real-time feedback on your pronunciation, so you sound way, way more natural. Plus, there's no translation crutch. It trains you to think and speak in your new language from the start.
Tomate es más pequeño y jitomate es más grande. Did you know that?
I was literally Googling jitomate a few days ago trying to find out what a jitomate is. So
And I learned that because I was in Mexico. Don't wait. Unlock your language learning potential now. A Hot Dog is a Sandwich listeners can grab Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership for 50% off. That's right. That's unlimited access to 25 language courses for life.
Visit rosettastone.com/hotdog to get started and claim your 50% off today. Don't miss out. Go to rosettastone.com/hotdog and start learning today. Spring is finally here, and that means more time for adventures, fresh air, and doing what you love, not spending hours in the kitchen. That's why I love Factor. Their fresh, ready-to-eat meals just take 2 minutes to heat up so I can fuel up fast and get back to my day. I just had the truffle butter filet mignon, and it was, oh my gosh, incredible. It tasted like something from a restaurant, but without any of that tedious work. I especially love the potato leek mash. And with 45 menu options, I can mix it up every week, whether I'm going for protein plus, keto, or calorie-smart meals. I've been super busy juggling family, work, and a really active social life. So using a service like Factor has really made life a bit less complicated for me, especially when I'm running around putting out fires all day at work, literally and figuratively. Factor isn't just for dinner. They've got delicious breakfasts, quick lunches, and even snacks and desserts, all made with quality ingredients and no hassle. It's easier to savor more this spring. Factor meals pack in the flavor with none of the fuss. Get started at factormeals.com/hotdog50 off and use code hotdog50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code hotdog50 off at factormeals.com/hotdog50 off for 50% off plus free shipping.
All right, y'all. Now it's time for a segment where me, Nicole, and Max put our food trivia knowledge to the test. It's time for our very own trivia segment called
Yummy in my tummy, got some trivia for you.
Robot Maggie has 3 questions prepared. Nicole and Max, you and I will wait until the question is complete, and then we will answer. If wrong, the other person gets the chance to steal and earn the point. Let's hear that first question.
Which movie permanently changed movie marketing tie-ins with a landmark product placement deal for Reese's Pieces peanut butter candies?
Ding.
Give it to Max.
E.T., the extraterrestrial.
The correct answer is E.T.
I did not know.
The extraterrestrial.
The extraterrestrial.
I did the ET ride at Universal in Orlando.
What did you say your name was?
Oh, I said my normal name. You're supposed to lie?
Where is your whimsy?
I don't know.
You have to say something funny, like
butt ass or something?
like butt face or like something.
Thank you, butt ass, for saving our planet.
Yeah.
But it was such a nice time because the animatronics and all the set building. It's like all of these virtual simulator Fast and Furious rides where you're just like on a
makes you want to
bus in there.
vomit.
Yeah, oh my god, it makes you nauseous.
Yeah, I love the ET ride. They used to have the ET ride here.
I know.
I loved
killed it.
Yeah.
You killed it. Well, never seen the movie.
Oh, it's good.
It's good.
The U.S. military contracted with a sweets manufacturing company to produce which candy for World War II troop rations?
Ding. What is a Hershey bar?
The correct answer is Tootsie Roll.
Oh. I'm sorry.
Really? For World War II?
I didn't know that. But Tootsie Rolls predate World War II, right?
I don't
I'm
know.
pretty sure they do.
Robot
Now I gotta look
Maggie,
that up.
back to the
What if
lab.
there's like a
Robot Maggie.
contracting thing?
Hershey bars definitely existed before that, but they did work with Hershey to produce the D-ration chocolate bar, which was meant to taste worse than the actual Hershey bar because the problem was it was supposed to be like your emergency ration. This is the last thing because it would last forever.
I see.
But the first ones, they tasted so good that the soldiers would eat that first, and then everything left for emergencies.
Silly
It's like,
soldiers.
put some sawdust in
So
it.
they literally made it less palatable,
That's so funny. Oh, man, wartime.
and
food
they
is
never
hilarious.
changed it back.
Oh no.
I'm just kidding, Hershey. I give you a hard time.
By the 1700s, infirmaries and apothecaries began prescribing what type of oil as a cure-all for a wide array of conditions: rheumatism, rickets, joint pains, colds, and to help heal wounds.
Ding? I'm going to say castor oil.
The correct answer is cod liver oil.
Cod liver oil.
That's what I was gonna say.
Well,
Is that the same as fish oil?
Specifically, the fish cod.
Yeah, no.
likely from its liver.
Whenever you
But
get
yes.
like fish oil thingies,
Yeah, yeah.
that's cod liver.
Oh, is it?
I don't know. I'm
never got
asking
that.
you guys.
I don't know.
Every time I have fish oil like tablets,
It probably is.
it says some
Cod.
say fish oil, some say cod liver oil.
Have you heard of something called ulichan or ulichan oil or
Never.
ulichan grease?
No.
Never.
Somebody asked me the question. They were like, if people render pork fat into lard and beef fat into tallow, chicken fat into schmaltz, do people ever like render fish fat into a usable fat? And I had no idea, and so I started doing some research. And apparently, in like indigenous communities, specifically in like British Columbia area, there was a massive trade of something called ulichan grease. So they would take a bunch of like needlefish, these like small oily fish, and they would just put them in this giant vat. They would
Wow.
pour boiling water on it, and then evaporate the water and strain off the grease. And it was like a massive trade thing.
Awesome.
And I heard some people talking about it, and they were like, "Why don't we eat that today?" And they're like, "Oh, tastes awful, spoils really quickly." But also, if you're living in the cold and that's part of your like diet.
Right.
It doesn't.
But yeah, not a big market for fish grease these days. All right, Nicole and Max, we've heard what you and I have to say. Now it's time to find out what other wacky ideas are rattling out there in the universe. It's time for a segment we call
Opinions Are Like
Casseroles. We're firing on all cylinders today, Nicole.
How so?
Everyone's got one and they smell like onions.
Terrible. I'll never get over that. Who approved that? You did?
Yeah, I literally remember in a pitch meeting, I
I
just
remember who.
blurted out opinions are like casseroles. And it stuck. 5 years later, here we are.
Here
Proud
we
of
are.
us.
Here we are.
Proud of us. How many episodes? Couple hundred?
I don't know, like maybe 200? Yap a lot.
Hell yeah, dude.
We've been speaking to each other for 254 episodes? God.
This has to stop.
All right, let's get to that first opinion.
Hey guys, this is Elena. I'm from Arlington, Texas. Go Rangers! Woo! But I've recently been living in
Okay.
San Diego with my friend that's from North County.
Hey, go
And
Padres.
we've been having this conversation time and time again. But what are the main differences between Tex-Mex and Baja Mexican food? See, I think Tex-Mex is spicier and a little more cheesy, but she thinks that Baja Mexican food is just like more seafood based. Anyway, please help us out. What's the main differences, and which one do you like more? All right, love everything the Mythical Kitchen does. Bye.
Bye.
That's cute. Max, do you
I-
have any feelings about this?
I mean, I think seafood is a big. It is a big difference, but I also think that the cheese that they tend to use is
Yeah.
a big difference.
That's right.
Tex-Mex, I feel, uses American style like cheddar cheese,
Right.
whereas Baja uses like cotija and stuff like that. I feel like Baja style relies more on actual Mexican ingredients, whereas Tex-Mex relies more on more Americanized ingredients.
And it's interesting when you're talking about this because what is America and what is Mexico was very different when a lot of these
Sure.
foods were even invented.
It's all
popularized, right?
Mexico.
It's all Mexico.
Surprise, it's all Mexico.
But so like I grew up like partly in North County, San Diego, and like
Right.
Oceanside. If I had a guess as to why the cuisines are different, because they're both norteño, so there's a lot of wheat grown in both parts, so a lot more flour tortillas used there than if you went to like the Yucatan,
Yeah.
right?
Corn-based,
But there is like this distinct difference where I feel like Tex-Mex food is known as being a lot heavier, right? It's a lot of like carne guisada, a lot of stews, heavy like combination plate style food covered in shredded yellow cheese.
Right.
And I'm wondering if that's because the communities there created their own Tejano identities a lot more than, say, Southern California, where I feel like there is more cultural diffusion and there's like a faster rate of immigration and immigration. Right? So I was talking to a Mexican food writer who made the claim that LA actually has the most diverse Mexican food scene in the entire world.
Oh, wow.
They're like, there are more regions of Mexico represented in LA than in Mexico City.
Oh, no
And they're
way.
like, because you have so many people that are moving to Los Angeles who maybe had to flee their homes or
Right.
maybe just emigrated out for more opportunity.
Right.
And he's like, if you go to Mexico City, there's a lot of their own biases where maybe a Oaxacan person goes there, tries to open a Oaxacan restaurant, and they're like, we don't want that crap here. Whereas you can go to LA and find your community
Right.
that has that. And so I'm thinking that maybe Southern California has like a faster immigration pattern.
Interesting.
And there's maybe more like Tejano families that have lived there for a while that have created sort of its own unique food style. But that's just my guess.
For me, I don't know. My mind immediately went to like Mediterranean food versus like mainland Turkish food. I don't know why I had that like side by side comparison. I think it's like the freshness of like you said, like it's ingredient based. It's a lot of fresh veggies, a lot of fresh proteins, things that are more fresh. And then whenever you go to like more mainland, it's more like heavier, more heavy duty foods. Lots of things that like you eat in the morning and it satiates you all the way until nighttime. So that was my kind of 1-to-1 comparison of Tex-Mex versus Baja versus Turkish food and Mediterranean food.
Yeah, like a lot of my favorite food is like Baja Californian food, like Sinaloan style, like mariscos is like one of my favorite things. And you go to San Diego, like TJ Oyster Bar is one of my favorite restaurants of all time. They have a lot of like cool Sinaloan specialties. Mariscos Herman is a great food truck doing fish tacos. And so, yeah, also water, like ports just have more cultural diffusion.
Sure,
throughout
naturally.
history and just
Yeah.
more diverse
Naturally.
food stuff. That's interesting, though. I've never really thought about that.
And I love both. That's the
too.
thing. It'd be hard. One will
delicious.
make me nap.
right, right.
But I love both.
I agree.
As long as I can have a cold beer with either, I'm in.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Hi guys, love the pod. I am listening to the Taco Bell versus Del Taco episode, and the little bit of trivia at the end where one of the questions was about German chocolate cake and where does it come from.
Oh, I remember
I actually
this.
think is a really interesting history. So German chocolate cake came about because a housewife wrote in a recipe to her local newspaper for German's chocolate cake because German's chocolate was a specific kind of baking chocolate. And
Okay.
the recipe got really, really popular. Everybody loved it. Eventually they dropped the apostrophe S and it just became German chocolate cake. So that's a really interesting origin story, in my opinion, just a food history. And then my specific, maybe controversial opinion is that tomato and peanut butter goes really well together. One of my favorite snacks is a really good seedy whole wheat bread, like with sunflower seeds, is the best, with a good smear of peanut butter and 2 slices of really ripe summer tomatoes with salt and pepper on top. It is the best. Again, love the pod. Thank you guys so much.
That sounds like one of those, whenever like a new food product is invented, they hire just a massive amount of like, especially back in the day, like women's magazine writers to be like, write us a 3-ingredient recipe with
Sure.
this newfangled, with Miracle Whip, with, stuff like that. That sounds like one of the OG peanut butter recipes.
Yeah.
That
said, I think peanut butter can do no wrong. I love peanut butter so much
Yes.
that I'm like, have I had it with? So the thing is, I have had it with tomatoes, and it was
Okay.
not good. But it was not in that style. It was a recipe from, I want to say the teens, the 19 teens, for a peanut butter and tomato soup that was served at schools around America. And it was not delicious.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, you'd think, because there is a type of soup from West Africa
Yes,
that is
Senegalese,
that, and
yeah.
it tastes good.
Mafe,
This
yeah.
did
Mafe.
not taste good, and I think it simply has to do with ratios.
Sure.
Yeah,
You know.
certainly.
So
Yeah, also like hundreds and hundreds of years of food culture and being developed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my aunt is actually Senegalese, and I grew up eating, like, she just called it peanut sauce or mafe all the time. And to me, it is like, if anybody has any weird peanut butter opinions, I'm like, you gotta try this West African stew.
So good.
One of the best foods in the world.
So good.
Oh, she makes her own like habanero hot sauce, like preserved in
way-
mustard oil.
The way the like oil sits on top of it and it's like tinged red from the tomato paste.
Yeah, and the
is
palm oil
really
too.
So sexy. I would eat the peanut butter sunflower bread tomato sandwich. I really would. But what I would do is I would add some like heavy like Maldon salt and then some crushed red pepper on it. And I think I would absolutely love it.
See, I don't like tomato on my sandwiches, so that's
At all?
my thing. No,
Sometimes
because
I need
they
it.
tend to be they add too much moisture
Fair.
to the sandwich.
I'm here for the wet.
And I'm like, yeah, see, I don't like
Sometimes
that.
I need it. Sometimes like I have a BLT once a year. Like I need the tomato to be the most delicious, gorgeous, juicy, wet tomato of all time. Sometimes I have like a mayonnaise and tomato sandwich, like a fresh summer tomato. So good.
Yeah, mayonnaise, tomato, salt, and pepper is maybe the best sandwich ever. And it's got to be Duke's mayonnaise.
And on white bread.
And on white bread, yeah. Not like
Not
Wonder Bread.
toasted.
Not Wonder Bread, though.
No, but not toasted.
But like a middle of
Country-
the road.
yeah. Oh,
country
really?
loaf. Not like
Yeah.
not like an artisanal sourdough that's gonna be too hard.
no, a country loaf.
Nice country loaf.
Country loaf.
German chocolate cake. Do you know anything about the history
This
of
was
German
so
chocolate
cool.
No, but it kind of reminds me of Ruth's Chris. Do you know?
cake? No, I know nothing
So I used to
about
work
this.
for Ruth's Chris Steakhouse
no
in
way.
college, and we had to learn the history. And it was originally from New Orleans, and it was called Chris's Steakhouse.
Okay.
And then Ruth Fertel bought it, and she was like, "Well, now this is Chris's Steakhouse." And eventually people were like, too many apostrophes.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of one.
Grammar
I
police.
think they got rid of the wrong one because Ruth's Chris Steakhouse makes no sense.
Sounds weird.
Ruth Chris's Steakhouse would make it sound like her name was Ruth Chris, but at least it rolls off the tongue a little bit
Sure.
better.
Yeah.
But I get the dropping of the apostrophe S with German's chocolate cake. That's just like German chocolate cake.
Yeah.
It feels like a loss for the German chocolate company, though. You know what I mean?
It is, but
Are they
whatever.
around anymore?
I've-
So clearly they needed
know?
the advertising.
Are Ruth's Chris's around anymore?
Oh, yeah, there's
thriving
one
in
down
the-
the street.
Is there?
Yeah, they actually just redid one out.
I
where
like
live.
never
They're
explored
definitely
Burbank.
bleeding cash, though. They're definitely one of those companies that you're going to hear about where they're like, well, they have $450 million in corporate debts. I just read a headline about that with Jack in the Box today. Where
I
they're
don't
like,
know. They charge like $80 for a filet mignon now.
Really?
So
It's nuts.
There used to be one in Beverly Hills, I remember, but that's the only Ruth's Chris I've ever seen in real life. How many are there? Are you Googling it?
Yeah. I just searched Ruth's Chris bankrupt, and it turns out they're not. But they just seem like they're
Fake
the next one
news.
to go bankrupt. You know what I mean? Maybe they're thriving, and
I
don't
honestly
know.
don't know.
Well, if they're going to get rid of Forever 21, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse must
Well,
be next.
it just depends. Does private equity buy them? And if so, then they will go out of business because that's what private equity does. They did it to Toys R Us. They've just done it to Joann's.
But
my
wait,
gosh.
Joe. not
yeah, I know.
Joann's.
I went to the
I'm
blowout
so
sale.
sad.
I know. I was sad too.
I
when
go to
went.
Joann Fabrics all the time.
I love Joann Fabrics. I love to craft.
Oh no,
People
Ruth's
don't know
Chris
that.
is owned by Darden. Yeah, that's gonna be tough. Darden is like they owned at some point. They've given them up now, but they owned like Olive Garden and Red Lobster and Longhorn Steakhouse, and they're like,
all had problems.
yeah. So they've given those up, but Ruth's Chris might be the thing that they're really holding on to. Well, interesting. Private equity saved McConnell's ice cream.
Oh,
It's like the
Nice.
one story that like private equity is like, we did one good thing. It's like with
don't
That's
look
what they
over
show.
here.
the whole.
That's their PowerPoint presentation.
It's literally that in
Yeah.
like the GMO circles. It's like the papaya thing in Hawaii, where they're like, Hawaii wouldn't have papayas if not for GMOs, and then it's just like, what's Monsanto
about the other
doing? And they're
things?
like, don't worry.
We got room for one more, Jamie. One more.
Yeah,
Come
the clue
on.
that is not German is the coconut.
Could have fooled me.
Hey, Josh and Nicole. My name is Josh.
Say hi to
I'm in
Max.
Florida. I was wondering, why is it that when these foods are brought to America, Japanese cuisine is kind of treated as a very fancy, like high-end thing, where
lot of
going
thoughts
to a
about this.
ramen store or going to a sushi place is always a very kind of an expensive affair.
Oh, okay.
But Chinese food is very cheap, very affordable, bought in bulk, and it's kind of just like basically fast food. I'm wondering if you have any input as far as the food history of these two disparate Asian cuisines and why they fill two much different cultural niches in America. Thanks. Bye.
You have feelings.
I have a lot of feelings,
Strong
but
feelings.
this is a very, very, very deep topic.
It's very complicated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, first, so he mentioned sushi. I'm right there. That's the reason. Sushi is expensive because fish is just more expensive than pork. So
and the
there is
expensive ramen
that.
thing is very, very new.
That's new, and that I think has to do more with marketing. And a lot of the Chinese, first of all, it is just generally has more history in America. There was a larger population, and there was a lot more racism they both had a lot of racism.
Right.
Sure,
against
sure,
them.
sure,
really
sure.
But the Chinese had a lot of racism specifically about their food and the cleanliness and everything that I just think newer really went away in a lot of ways.
There was a much bigger earlier wave of Chinese immigration, and then there was a kind of second wave of post-World War II Japanese immigration to America. And also at this time, there's this weird period in American history in the 70s and 80s of like Japanophilia, but also Japanophobia.
Sure, yeah.
Where
Yeah.
we were so worried. Remember, weird segue, talking to Terry Crews, who grew up in Flint, where he was like, if you drove a Japanese car on the street,
yeah.
we'd firebomb
They
it.
cuss you out, yeah.
Right? Because like they were so afraid of Japanese like industrial capacity. And then there became all these like this weird myth making about Japanese culture and it's all about respect and the
pristine,
artisan
yeah.
and its precision and all this. And so that like built the myth up in the food as well.
Sure.
Where you hear people talk all about, you watch Jiro Dreams of Sushi and it's like for every Jiro in Japan, there's also a 7-Eleven selling like, deep fried cheese filled fish cakes.
Yep.
So I think we've had this weird myth making, and a majority of the sushi restaurants in LA for at least a long time were owned by Korean families.
Yes.
Because they knew that people had this idea that they'd spend a lot more money on Japanese food. And that's sushi, but it's also chicken teriyaki is going to be more expensive than, getting the Chinese equivalent roughly. And so like Korean families are like, well, nobody really knows what Korean food is, so we're going to just sell sushi to white people at an insane premium.
Right.
And so there's this weird, like, kind of model minority myth, stratification of Asian cultures that I don't think is explicit for a lot of people. But then when you really break it down and, like, see the economics of it, it's one of the most fascinating food topics to me, and I wish I was more educated on it.
We can do a whole episode on it if you want. You can come back and talk about it. You want to do that?
And I think it's not just Japanese and Chinese. I think it's,
big time.
French food.
Yep.
The ingredients are not necessarily more expensive or anything than German food, Italian food.
Right?
But it's always costs 2 or 3 times as much.
Yeah.
Tapas. Don't get me started on tapas.
Oh, my goodness.
You can eat for an hour, spend $200, and still be hungry.
Yep.
Yeah.
True. No, true. I had ramen yesterday that tasted like hot Cheetos. That's all I have to say. I literally went to a restaurant, sat down, and had ramen that had literal red, like it was literal hot Cheeto dust on top of it. And I was like, all right, this is where we are now. It was good.
The chef had seen that on one of those like
He probably
cooking
saw it on our show.
competition
He
things
probably
where
saw it
you
on
have
our
to put
show.
and he was like,
That looks good.
yeah. The audience liked it.
All right. Well, that's our time. Max, thank you so much for joining us, and this is an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Where can the
This was
people
fun.
find you, Max?
Tasting History on YouTube is probably the best place. Tastinghistory.com website.
Find him at a nice shaded bar by a beach. Not
Yes,
anywhere, near the sun.
where the sun
yeah.
is not.
Just any beach. Any.
Thank you all for listening to A Hot Dog is a Sandwich. We got audio-only episodes every Wednesday and a video version here on YouTube every Sunday.
If you want to be featured on Opinions or like Casseroles, hit us up at 833-DOG-POD1. The number again is 833-DOG-POD1.
Max, have you called the number?
No,
Call 833
You
dog
should.
pod.
I'm going to.
For more Mythical Kitchen, check out our other videos. We launch new episodes every week. See you all next time.